Welcome to Module 4, and I want to be upfront about why this module exists. Module 2 and 3 got Claude actually connected and doing useful work in Salesforce, which feels great. But speed without safety is how integration go wrong. This module is the credibility check, permissions, failure modes, and data quality, and it applies equally whether you are running Claude desktop through the hosted MCP server or Claude code through the local DX MCP server. Think of this as the module where Sam stops moving fast and start asking the boring important questions. This first episode is about the single most important safety concept in the entire course, permissions. Everything else, good prompts, custom tools, review habits, sits on top of this foundation. If the permission model underneath is wrong, none of that other stuff saves you. So we are going to slow down and actually build a properly scoped connection instead of assuming the one you set up in module 2 or 3 is safe by default. Here's a moment I want you to actually have, not just what someone else have. Sam has two working connection now, and it's easy to get comfortable and just keep building features. But comfortable is exactly when people skip security review. So pause here and ask yourself if the same question Sam is asking, what is actually stopping Claude from touching something it shouldn't? If you don't have a confident answer, that's exactly what this episode fixes. This is a single fact I want you to walk away with from this entire episode, maybe this entire module. People sometimes imagine that connecting an AI to Salesforce involves some special AI aware security layer that limits what it can do. It doesn't. The external client app authenticates as a real Salesforce user using OAuth, and from that point on, Salesforce has no idea it's talking to an AI instead of a person. Whatever that user can see and edit, Claude can see and edit. That's it. That's the whole model. Let's make this concrete with a side-by-side comparison. On the left, a setup where Claude authenticates as Sam's own admin account, full visibility into every object, every department, every sensitive field, because that's what Sam's login happens to have. On the right, a set of scopes specifically for this integration, where Claude can only see and touch that was deliberately exposed. Same AI, same prompts, widely different risk profile. The entire rest of this episode is about how you get from the left side to the right side. The fix starts with not being lazy about the setup. It is very tempting to just point the connection at an existing admin profile because it's already there and it works. Don't do that. Build a permission set specifically for this integration name so anyone looking at it immediately understand its purpose. Grant access object by object and field by field. This is slower than reusing an existing profile, and that slowness is the point. You are forced to think about what you are actually authorizing. Now let's see this in Salesforce. So in Salesforce, we have got a permission set, a custom permission set by name MCP Claude integration. This is a custom permission set that we created. And if you look into the object setting, only specific objects like account has been given read and edit access, no delete access. And within account, if you look, only specific field have been given access, the fields which we want Claude to have access to. Similarly, if you look into another object, For example, for opportunities also has read and edit. And if I open opportunities, in the field level security, only few fields have been given read access, not every field. Let's go back to presentation. This is what we just walked through, where I gave you an example of account and opportunity. Similarly, we have done it for contact and case also. For each object, Cloud might touch ask, does a real workflow need read access, write access, or no access at all? In Sam's case, account and opportunity need read and edit because that's where the active work happens. Contact only needs read access because none of the planned workflows update contacts. And case gets nothing because it's simply not part of this use case yet. But because Claude could misuse it, there is no reason to grant it in the first place. This is where a lot of people stop too early thinking object level access is enough. It isn't. Even on an object where Claude has legitimate edit access, individual fields can carry very different risks. Sam gives Claude edit access to contact adjacent workflows, but explicitly locks down payment and financial fields at the field level. The important part here is that this restriction is enforced by Salesforce itself at the API layer. It doesn't matter how the prompt is worded or what Claude intends to do, the right attempt simply fails. Field level security answers which fields, but you also need to answer which records. And that's where a sharing rule, org by default, and role hierarchy comes in. These apply to your integration user exactly like they would to any employee. If opportunities are shared privately by team, your integration user only see its own team's deal unless you deliberately widen that. A good gut check here. Imagine handing this exact login to a new hire who is curious but not malicious. What could they poke around and see? That's Claude real ceiling. Now let's talk about who is actually logging in. Never wire this connection up to a real person personal login, even if that person is Sam and Sam trusts themselves completely. A shared personal login breaks the moment that person password rotate or they leave the company and makes your audit trail useless because you can no longer tell whether a change was made by the human or by the AI. Instead, create a dedicated service user with a name that makes its purpose obvious and give it exactly the license type it actually needs. Let's look into Salesforce. So we created a user by name Claude integration. We are given a profile, minimum access, Salesforce, made it active, and also assigned the permission set, MCP Claude integration. Now actually do this in your own org, not just on paper or in theory. Create the user, assign the permissions that you built 2 steps ago, and then run the OAuth flow from your external client app, authenticating as that new service user instead of your own admin account. Once this is done, every single thing Claude does in Salesforce shows up under a clearly named identity that isn't tied to any human personal account. It's easy to think of this permission discipline as a Claude desktop thing because that's the flow we just talked through, but it applies just as much to Module 3 local setup. Running sforg login web feels casual. It's just a terminal command, but whatever org and user you authorize there becomes Claude code identity for every single DXMCP call afterward. If you authorize your personal dev hub admin login out of convenience, you have just recreated the exact over permission scenario from earlier in this episode. just through a different door. Let's ground all of this in one real before and after so it's not abstract. Before, Sam asked Claude to clean up old opportunities, and because Claude is authenticated as Sam's own admin login, it can technically see and edit HR employee records and finance payment terms field, objects that have nothing to do with the actual request. After, Claude Connect as the dedicated service user, scope tightly to account and opportunity access plus read-only contact. HR and finance data isn't hidden by a polite request not to look at it. It's structurally invisible to that login. Before you move on, run through this list against your own org, not just Sam's example. Did you build a dedicated permission set with deliberate object and field grants? Did you lock down sensitive fields specifically, not just at the object level? Did you check sharing rules and record type? Did you create a dedicated integration user instead of reusing a personal login? And did you apply the same discipline to your local SF org login web session? If any of those are not yet, that's your homework before the next episode. Permission scoping limits how much damage a mistake can do, but it doesn't stop mistake from happening in first place. In the next episode, we are going to look at exactly what those mistakes look like in practice, overboard queries, wrong records getting updated, and Claude confidentially referencing fields that don't exist. This is the debugging episode, and I promise it's more useful than reassuring.